What's going on, everybody? Some idiot with a wrench trying his fucking damnedest to be productive in his garage. So, last video, we tore all this apart and got down to pretty much a short block. I just got the heads and the intake and the electromagicals hanging out on the top of the block now. Before we take that any further, I want to do some minor prep pieces to my actual heads that are replacing the smogulators on this guy. These are brand new Summit brand Vortec style heads. I really like these. I think I've never done a head swap. I've never done anything really like this before, but from everything I've read, I'm really super stoked about these things. So they are Vortec heads, so they are pretty much like GM stock-ish, but they're going to work way better than any other stock style small block head. And these, instead of having the 64cc combustion chamber like the stock ones on your 90s small blocks have, we've got a 67cc chamber. So not quite as much compression, but alongside the cam, that should actually keep me able to run pump gas, I think in a 9:1, 9:2, 9.1, 9.2 compression ratio, which should let me stay on 87 octane. Hopefully. She's a thirsty bitch, and I really don't want to have to put premium in it. I don't make money like that. So that's why I decided to go with them. Big bump in power, can stay on 87 octane. The thing is, they're ugly and gray, right? They're cast iron, and the rest of this block, underneath all the dirt and grime and dead dynos, is a really pretty Chevy red orange. I can't just bolt gray cast iron to that and call it a good day. So I'm gonna paint these guys Chevy red orange using rattle cans, of course. So let's see how that goes. Let's get to it. All right, so let's take a bit of a closer look at what we're working with. These are the heads. So they're Vortec style, whatever that means. I think it just means that they got bigger valves and that the deck is a lot lower, so you're gonna get more compression. I don't know, the internet said that they're really good. And if you're like me and you've done a lot of window shopping on the internet at heads, there's a lot of like weird, I don't know, I'm not gonna say misinformation. It's kind of hard to figure out how that whole like soup sandwich works. A lot of places you'll see like eBay and even Summit now and Amazon, like a set of like aluminum high flow heads, dressed and everything. That means they've got the valves and the springs and everything, like they're already like assembled for like 600 bucks, no name, probably out of some shitty Chinese factory using slave labor and like pig metal. Those sat in my cart forever. I was really just gonna do it and just fucking full send it, right? But I really love the car, and I would hate for it to sit even longer parked up because I went super cheap with a relatively major component than if I'd forked over just a little bit more money to get a better head. Now, what you'll notice when you do that and you start to actually look at name brand heads, a lot of the pricing can be kind of deceiving. Like it'll see like aluminum heads, and it'll seem like a great deal from like Dart or some other people on Jegs or Summit, or insert your favorite website here. But like it's for like one head and not two, even though the ad says heads, or they don't come with valves or springs or any of that. You got to go find your own and get it assembled and leak tested and everything, and before you know it, you're spending a shitload of money. Which is why I ended up, after weeks of deliberation and lots of beer, I decided to go with these. So Summit sells these things for 370 bucks per head, assembled with the springs and the valves and everything like already put on. So you're talking with shipping, and I think if you spend enough money, and you're buying heads, you're probably going to be buying a bunch of other stuff. I recommend getting all the gaskets and stuff at once if you can. Like, you're going to hit free shipping. So, you know, $750 for a set of heads that are going to be, apparently, according to all the YouTube videos and forum gurus, far and away such a massive improvement on your like stock heads, especially 882s, which are what's in this car right now. It's worth it, right? This would probably be the biggest budget move I would make. It just, in my experience, it's better to just save up for a couple extra months and then go whole hog than try and like cut a lot of corners and do half measures. But you do whatever you want. I don't know. That's just been my experience, and that was kind of my thought process behind what I ended up picking up for this project. So that's what we got. That's what we're working with. Now, how we're going to proceed here with our painting. You really want to make sure that you do not get any gasket surface covered in paint, because that's really going to impair your ability to like seal your stuff up. I know that that seems really obvious, but I felt the need to say it. You also really don't want to get paint anywhere inside where your, whatever you call this area, where the push rods and the rocker arms hang out, like in here, because the oil will eat it up and then it'll peel off and it'll make its way down through your valves, and you know, you'll get gummy valves, or it'll make its way into the combustion chamber and it'll just be bad news. So we need to get them masked. Before we do that, because I live in America's crotch, Northwest Florida, there's already a bunch of surface rust showing up in places on these. Now, they've been in the plastic, and I've only had them here for about 2 months. That's it. But Northwest Florida, or Florida in general, can get hotter than Satan's taint and just as wet. This is such an awful place to live. It's humider than fuck out here. Sometimes you can literally cut the moisture in the air with a fucking knife. And for stuff like this, like bare metal sitting, that's gonna show. Because I'm pretty sure these even come with like a film on them from wherever they're manufactured to prevent this very thing from happening. But Florida don't give a fuck. So I'm gonna try and clean that up with just some, I'm thinking I'm gonna start off trying with quad zip steel wool. And then after all the surface rust I can easily get to is taken care of, as long as it's not in any critical areas, then we'll get to masking. So speaking of, you can see what is going to be a gasket surface, right? Or especially if you like know like the basic anatomy of the head. This is your intake side. So there's a gasket that's going to sit here. Your intake is going to shoot all the wonderful dead dino juice into your intake ports, and then it's going to go boom, and then out through here, through your valve, and then shoot out the exhaust side, just make lots of loud, cool noises. So this is another gasket surface here. You can tell because it's shiny and because of the way that it is. So all those need to get masked off. So enough talking about it. Let's actually sit down and do it. All right. God, these are heavy. Fuck. Loud noises. Yeah, you can see that working a little bit. Well, not the best. Okay, let's get to masking. Fuck. Don't you guys just love the way that like masking tape does exactly what you want it to do? When you want it to do it, the exact way you want it to do it. So good. Yeah, I wish I was funnier. I feel like this is the part where if you were better at this whole YouTube thing than me, you'd have some really funny commentary. But I guess that's why nobody watches these videos. I shouldn't say that. Got a whole 30 views on my radiator video. That feels like something. That's like, you know, high school social studies class. Right? You guys remember how nerve-wracking it was to do a presentation in high school? Well, there you go. That many people have watched one of my cutting-edge, super entertaining YouTube videos. Fuck. Ta-da! So, pretty much got this guy all masked up. Had the really big brain play to use the old pocket knife. Oh, forgot a spot. Use the old pocket knife to like cut all the masking tape off. Right, just put a big thing down and then cut whatever's hanging off extra. I'm not super worried about being super like exact here. As in, I'm not afraid of like missing some of this metal with the paint, more so than I'm concerned about not getting anything on my gasket surface. I really don't have to fight any kind of exhaust leak, or definitely don't want to have to deal with anything in here having a bunch of paint shit on it. I'd rather there be some spots where you can see that it was rattle canned, or that it's still just primer or plain cast iron. That seems much preferable to me than fucking with trying to get paint off of something that's not supposed to have paint on it. But if it happens, it happens. I can just hit it with some acetone or something. I don't know why that was so fucking hard for me to think of. You know, I guess one of my 3 brain cells is taking a vacation for today. I've been off my game. But anyway, hopefully I'm able to time lapse what I just did so you can watch me do the stuff and the things. And if not, then I sound like an idiot right now, but that tracks. So I'm gonna just do the other one up because my battery's dying, and I'll pick you guys up here in a bit. Alrighty, everything is masked up, ready to go. You can kind of tell which one I kind of figured the process out on, right? This guy came out much better. I'm too lazy and stupid to go back and redo this one, so we're just gonna fucking send it. On this one, I used tape to cover these front accessory holes, which is another thing I'm super excited about these heads for. I didn't have to go and get the accessory holes drilled and tapped, because that's something that would scare the piss out of me doing by myself. They come pre-drilled, pre-holed. So one less thing to fuck up. This side, I just knotted up some masking paper and just stuffed it in the holes to protect the threads. Right, we'll see how well it works. I'm just gonna leave both as they are, and we'll kind of just see what the product looks like. At least one head isn't gonna have an accessory for a little bit afterwards, so you know, but I am, both sides are drilled, so I'm gonna have choice on which side faces forward and which one doesn't, and whichever, you know, the best looking side for both head is gonna go where it needs to go, and the one with the, if any of them turn out really ugly, those are gonna be the ones hidden by the alternator. So not that big a deal, and I'm kind of just running on faith that these heavy fucking heads pushed down on this tarp isn't gonna let any paint get down onto the actual surface that seals on the block. We'll see. If it does, I'll show you guys and how I'm going to remove it, because I will remove that. That's actually important. As far as these head mounting holes, I took a trick straight from Derek from Vice Grips toolbox, and I just put some change, you know, about 2 cold snacks worth of change over the mounting holes. Hopefully it'll work. They're not threaded or anything, they're just passages. So maybe getting a bunch of paint on the top would affect your torque rating a little bit. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. It felt smarter to mask them off than to not, so that's what I'm gonna do. But yeah, it's time to spray. So this is the stuff I'm using. The Duplicolor engine enamel stuff. I don't know if it's any good, to be perfectly honest with you. It's just like the only engine paint that I've seen off the shelf. So we're gonna roll with it. If it looks shitty and peels, it's probably not Duplicolor's fault. It's probably you boys. So let's see. Whoop. Don't want the old elf bar getting sprayed. I'm gonna need that later. That looks just right. Let's make sure I didn't miss anything. Alrighty. That is primer. Alright, so primer's done. I did 2 coats. Got a lot of stuff I didn't know was on this caked on right here. Probably should have cleaned these pretty good before I started spraying, but you live and you learn. Making me a little bit nervous about some of my, you know, masking job, but it's fine. Hopefully, I don't know. It's going to be buried under stuff. There's going to be headers and bolt stuff. It'll be fine. This isn't completely dry, but I've got places to be and like not a lot of time, so I'm just going to fucking send it. Hope it works out. Not the recommended course of action, especially when you're doing paint. Generally, like the rule of thumb is to be like as thorough as possible, especially with your prep, which I didn't do. So don't do this the way I'm doing it, and it'll probably turn out a lot better than mine. But it's time to put the fun color on. This is such a good orange. Or red or whatever it is. I am extremely colorblind, but this color makes me happy. Probably putting this on way too thick, but it's fine. Rattle cans are cheap. It's not like I bought a compressor and was trying to paint body panels for my girlfriend's car and completely fucked that up on pretty much every layer imaginable. Yeah, I did that. Might put some highlights of that in here. It was a fucking train wreck. There's a reason why people pay a bunch of money to have like paint stuff done, especially to sheet metal. Rattle cans and doing stuff like this is like really forgiving. HVLP gun, like compressor stuff, like real boy painting, that is not. That is a lot more technical, and you have to actually know what you're doing to like get any kind of product that looks okay. Not so much with this stuff. Not to say that you can't make magic happen with a rattle can. You definitely can. I painted a whole car using rattle cans. A free 99 NA Miata that I got in Hawaii. Paid literally like $60 and a case of beer for it, and for that price, that was, I think, the best car I've ever owned. The miles per gallon through the fucking roof. Alright, well, this is what they're looking like. That looks like Chevy orange to me. Red orange. Yeah, I'm just gonna do that again, way too much. So that it pools and it gets all liquidy in some of the weird crevice spots. Perfect. So it'll definitely not dry well and flake off and be an absolute pain in the ass to deal with later. That's what you want. Yeah, there they are. Those look like Chevy heads. Cool, good deal. That's gonna go ahead and wrap it for me. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video or you learned anything, or I don't know, because you feel like it or dislike it. I don't really care. I just want the engagement. I'll see you next time.